we've been partnering up on getting these Epstein Files released. They've literally shut down Congress. That's why we're not in Congress.
Yeah, let's dive into that. I was going to get through a few more things, but hey, listen, you're here. It's something that especially the people that watch Twitch and younger generation are very interested in. Could you kind of give us a rundown of your bill with Epstein Files and the significance that you feel that this plays and what's holding it up?
Sure. It's about basic justice, right? You've had rich and powerful people who've raped underage girls, 13, 14 years, told those girls to go recruit other people to be abused, and they had no justice. And this has gone on for decades. And there's files that are existing by the FBI that have interviewed a lot of the other men who either covered up for Epstein's pedophilia or participated in the farm system of having sex with these women. It's the biggest American sex scandal, probably, of politicians in history, certainly in modern history. And people are like, why should the rich and powerful get a different system of justice? Why do they get away with everything? Why are they making the money? Why are they getting to do these kind of trusts that avoid tax? Why do they, even in a case of a pedophile, get away with everything? So what Maxie and I said is we want to release the files. Trump promised to do that. J.D. Vance promised to do that. They haven't done it. And we've gotten 217 signatures to force a vote because the speaker isn't bringing a vote. And it turns out that there's a 218th member, which would force the vote. It'd be a majority of 435. And that person is Adelita Grijalva. And she has won the election in Arizona. And for 2.5 weeks, she hasn't been sworn in because you have to have Congress in session to be sworn in. So the speaker is so afraid of swearing her in and having a vote on the Epstein Files that for 2.5 weeks, we've literally not been in session, to the point where you as a veteran will appreciate this. And thank you for your service. I don't know what branch you were in, but I was talking to a mom and her daughter was concerned she wasn't going to get paid. Usually Congress is in session so we can pay the troops. Now Trump is rearranging money and he's found $8 billion from some other fund, the Pentagon. It's who knows the legality. I'm glad that the troops are being paid, but call Congress in today, tomorrow, any day, so that we can pay the troops, so we can pay federal workers, so we can get government running again. The only reason we're not in is because they don't want us to have a vote on the Epstein Files.
And from what I gathered, and correct me if I'm wrong, what I heard, that at least coming from the administration, was, push our bill through for the budget or whatever for without the healthcare subsidies and whatnot, then we'll reopen the government and then we'll revisit this. So it seems like they're kind of does it seem like they're kind of holding this hostage, or what do you take from that?
They're basically holding it hostage. First of all, they have the votes, right? They have 51 senators. They have the House Representatives majority, and they have the presidency. They could pass it tomorrow. People say, well, what about the filibuster? Well, they got an exception to the filibuster to confirm judges, to confirm presidential appointees. Why can't you have an exception to the filibuster to keep government open? So if they want Democratic votes, then the Democrats are saying you've got to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, because otherwise premiums are going to skyrocket in this country. They're going to double for people on the exchange. And that's all the debate is really over.
Mm-hmm. And as far as the budget, like when you guys, because obviously this budget is massive. I mean, one of my biggest gripes about the way sessions are done, I think a lot of Americans feel the same way, is that it's especially earmarks, right? Like obviously we're not in a society now where you could have single issue bills because it would just stack up for years on time before they ever hit the floor. But earmarks, like, a bill could say, save, starving homeless children bill, but inside it's subsidies for this and, this and that. And then everybody has an earmark. And so just to give you an example, here in Florida, a few years ago, we had a vote on our ballot, and it says, do you want to have the ability for oil rigs to be off the coast within a certain mile of the coastline, right? And if you voted no, then you also voted for banning vaping indoors. But if you wanted to vape indoors, you had to vote yes for oil rigs at the beach. Like, that's the kind of thing. Like, is there ever, going to be a way where we can, or is that just par for the course now?
That's exactly how they play the game in Washington. That's why some of us, like Massey and I, have been pushing for single issue bill votes, right? Don't lump everything together and force people to vote on a big conglomerate bill that has tons of bad things in it. Have votes on particular issues and get people on record. But that's the way the game's played. Look, they're literally shutting down the government because they don't want a single vote on the Epstein Files. And they aren't allowing us to vote on things like paying the federal workers, paying the troops. So, like people feel that Congress and government has really been broken for a number of reasons. One, the hate that's been perpetrated in our society and hating each other, the extremism. Second, the role of money in politics. I mean, I founded the No PAC Caucus. I don't take a dime of PAC money, dime of lobbyist money. There are about 10 of us in that No PAC Caucus, but the role of big money in politics has been corrupting. The gerrymandering has been corrupting. So it's a dysfunctional system.
All right. Well, this is great because we're just like rolling it. I want to spend more time on each area here, but I know you have limited time, so I'm just kind of letting you kind of take the lead here, and you're rolling into a few things. As far as political action committees, now, we know that Citizens United wasn't. It wasn't what made it. It kind of allowed the secondary case that allowed for the political action committees and whatnot. And, we got like a three-pronged problem here, right? We've got political action committees, we've got think tanks, and we've got lobbying, right? And right now, we've kind of pushed from, it used to be the NRA was the big one that was talked about. Now it's APAC I hear a lot about from people talking about the politics and the money that comes from there. Think tanks and lobbyist groups, obviously the money's going in there. How would we, and I'm sure we're never going to get there, but let's just pretend that we could do it. You and I, we could put a bill that's going to get voted on. How would we get money out of politics? I mean, my idea is that every politician should wear like a NASCAR type thing and their sponsor and their donors would have to be a patch on their thing. But I don't feel like that's good. What would you do if you were like, or you could just do an executive order, right? Because apparently that's the cool thing now. How would you get money out of politics?
Well, first of all, I think we need more politicians taking a pledge like I have not to take PAC money, lobbyist money, and I've been able to raise money. Now, look, I represent an affluent area in Silicon Valley, but online you can raise tons of money now. Tell
me how, please. I'm hurting over here.
Well, you're not running for office. You're running for Congress.
I don't want to. You guys can have it.
So, I think we need more politicians who are going to be going to the grassroots and not taking PAC money, not taking lobbyist money. We have a bill, Summer Lee and I, to abolish super PACs. And that would say, look, if you were giving a candidate money for Congress, you could only write them $7,000 for a cycle. But you could go in the next room and write $1 million to their super PAC. How is that legal? Even under Citizens United. So what we need to do is say, you shouldn't be able to contribute more to the super PAC than you can to a candidate. That would get rid of a lot of the super PACs in this country. And then we need to overturn Citizens United ultimately and have strict contribution limits for money and not have PACs and lobbyists. I mean, it's one of the biggest things. So you have defense contractors, you got PBMs, you got insurance money. All of that's preventing us from having healthcare and childcare and housing for everyone.
Citizens United was a big one, but I think a lot of people also know that Citizens United wasn't actually the one that caused it. It was the one that opened the door. It only allowed for Citizens United actually, a lot of people don't know. I'm not a fan of it, but I think a lot of people don't know that it actually allowed unions to start raising money as well. It was the one after that was the actual case that allowed super PACs and PACs to have unlimited funding. So,
and which was mistakenly decided in the DC court. That didn't go all the way up the Supreme Court because what they said is that you couldn't restrict the contributions to super PACs. Why? Like, why is it that you can restrict the contributions to a congressional campaign committee? Someone can't give $1 million to a member of Congress's campaign, but they can give it to a super PAC. It makes no difference. Have contribution limits, even under Citizens United, for everyone. And that's Summer Lee in my bill. It's to abolish super PACs without even having to overturn Citizens United. Maine did it. 70% of people in Maine supported it.
How many bills do you have out there right now?
I've got probably about 30, 40 good bills that are working on. Some of them obviously become law, but there's a core of my 9 Congress.
I mean, it's impressive. I mean, like, to be able to constantly like come up with these, and obviously they're not all going to get voted on, but it like puts it out on the record. Speaking of what we were just talking about, one thing that I've always found, and I think most people are frustrated with this, is that we want changes in our government and our Congress, because but the problem is that the people who are going to vote against their interest are the people that are gaining from it, right? So, for example, what you're talking about, like, why would Congress vote to stop their funding? Like, where is that self-preservation there?
They could lose their job. I mean, if the citizens care enough about it, right? Like, why is it that Congress has never passed a pay raise for members of Congress in like the last 25 years? Right. Why doesn't Congress just say, okay, we're going to vote to pay ourselves $1 million a year?
I can think of a few reasons.
Because I don't want to give any people any ideas. Anyway, it's because that everyone knows that if you vote for a congressional pay increase, you're going to get hammered back at home and you could lose your seat. Now, you probably, that became a big issue. And so the only time Congress votes against their interests is if people actually care about it as a voting issue. Most people fundamentally view what they care about is, what are you doing for them, right? What are you doing to improve their health care? What are you doing to improve their jobs? What are you doing to fight for them? And they're more concerned about that. The problem is with the corruption in Congress, with the role of big money in politics, with the role of super PACs, it's hard to get the agenda that's actually helping people. So we have to always link, okay, if you make this change or reform, how is it going to help the person in your communities? How is it going to get them a good paying job? How is it going to make sure they get health care? How are they going to get a living wage? Because most people aren't paying attention to politics 24/7. You know, they're watching the 49ers game or they're
go Jags.
Yeah, we've got too many injuries.
Yeah, whatever excuse, it's cool. It's cool. Listen, so, it is what it is.
It is. Yeah. So that's why. But I think right now there's a whole frustration on corruption. I mean, look at the president, right? I mean, like his family with cryptocurrencies, making out millions and millions of dollars. They've got like foreign governments investing in cryptocurrency and meme coins. And that the scale of that is so shocking for people that they want accountability. They hate the fact that 70% of people in this country believe the American dream is slipping away, and yet rich and powerful people are continuing to build wealth. And public service has become a means where people end up building wealth. Either during public service, it needs to be outlawed, or afterwards. I have a bill that says don't let members of Congress become lobbyists. Like, you go on the Armed Services Committee, you sit there for 9 years, and then you go work for Raytheon or Lockheed. Come on. But so we need to reform the system. But fundamentally, what we need to do is tackle the economics as well.
I agree with that, but I want to, be very candid here.
No.
As a politician, I understand, the idea of saying, or not you, but like as a politicians as a whole, talking, about people vote for who helps them. But I'd like to counter that with at least how we see it.
Please.
It's no longer voting for someone. It's now voting against someone. A politician no longer has to go out and prove they're the best candidate. They just have to prove that if you vote for their opponent, America is destroyed.